Hello and welcome, I'm Nicholas Nazmi and you're watching Head to Head with UATV. Today we're talking about an animated film based on the stories of internally displaced people from Donbas. These stories have been collected by the Donbas Odyssey art project. A working title of the feature film is called Displaced Garden. The New York-based artist Nicholas Nazmi, together with an artist Darya Tsymbalyuk and film director Maria Voronchuk, will work on this film, and today we're lucky to have Nicholas in our studio. Hello and thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you in the studio. So, as far as I understand, this is a documentary, isn't it? And how will this movie look like?
This is sort of a documentary. The documentary aspects of it are the interviews and the voices of the subjects of the story. The rest of the film will be told in more of a poetic vision, combining both footage from camera and animation.
So it will be an interpretation of the director, meaning like it's going to be slightly a fiction movie also.
Yeah, right now we're sort of working with the genre, I guess, docu-fiction.
Docu-fiction.
For lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's what I read about this movie. That was very confusing to me, so I wanted you to explain.
Yeah, it's sort of
it's like feature-length docu-fiction film.
Yeah, docu-fiction is sort of hard to describe.
So you combine fiction with the documentary.
Correct. The interpretation of these stories is a visual interpretation. So this part of it's not a documentary. This is sort of us creating drawings of animation that we sort of interpret from the interviews to try and capture the emotion and the atmosphere of the story. The voices you'll hear in the film are from the real people and the real stories behind it, but our vision as artists is to sort of try and capture the emotion and the feeling, which is not literal, but more poetic.
So this is how the audience can distinguish what is the documentary and what is poetic about this film, what is your own artwork about this movie, yes?
Correct.
Good. So this is an interesting name, Displaced Garden, and quite a nice comparison. But why is this only a working title?
It's a working title because that's the first name that we
It's like the first draft.
The first draft, yeah.
Okay.
We're not sure if it's going to change, but right now we've decided it's the temporary working title. If we find another title along the way, we might change it. So right now it's just temporary.
So you told us that this movie will be voiced over by the real stories and by the real voices of internally displaced people that had to flee Donbas since 2014, right, when the war between Russia and Ukraine started. But could you please tell us more, how will the movie look like? Because you mentioned some kind of animation, some kind of artwork, some kind of footage, so maybe the audience can just, have some kind of verbalized preview.
Sure. The animation and the footage is sort of centered on the transportation of plants. Right now, Darya's interviews with these people who have been displaced from Donbas, the interviews that she has done with them all sort of have to do with memory and their memories from their homes in Donbas. And the way she does interviews is she has them draw a mental map of their homes and a memory, sort of. You have a piece of paper and you start drawing memories and the location of the memories. For example, one of our subjects talks about strawberries in the garden, and once you start drawing these memories, it just unlocks certain parts of your brain that you forget about. You forget about certain things that have happened in certain parts of your home or the surrounding areas. And one thing that she's noticed one thing that she has noticed among all her interviews is that there's always plants involved in these memories. They always remember where the plants were in the house, what types of things they were growing, whether it's strawberries or a rubber plant. You always find plants on these maps that she has done the interviews with. So because of that, this symbol of plants, there's a lot of metaphor and emotion and memory tied to them. So the movie is going to center around both animation and video of these transportation of plants, which is why now the name is Displaced Garden, because some people, when they travel, they bring their plants with them. Sometimes they have to give plants to someone else to take care of it because they're in a rush to leave. So we're sort of going to try and capture this imagery and tell the story. Right now, the script is still being written, and we're sort of shooting as the script is being written. And right now, the main image that we're doing is sort of creating the transportation of plants, either in the middle of the night or during the day, and to neighbors, to family.
This is a very nice angle, I would say, to, well, basically to unveil the story. Could you please tell us, so Darya Tsymbalyuk, she's working right now, she's collecting the stories, yes? How does she pick those whose stories she wants to share in the movie?
It's a good question. I honestly would prefer for her to answer that question because she has met so many people. She's always going and having conversations.
But I know that she's writing some scientific research on this.
Yeah, it's a PhD. Yeah, she's writing just... Let me try and think for a second how to say this the best way. Her PhD is covering a lot of different... I really don't want to speak for her because she knows how to say this the best way possible, but I will say that Darya has been working on this for many, many years.
Yes, and it's about the repercussions of war in the Donbas, as far as I understand.
It is about the repercussions, but it's also about her shifting the focus from the usual narrative we see is the victimization of those who have been displaced, and there is sort of a neglect to talk about the positivity of their lives and to look into the positivity of their memories from Donbas. It's always, and most of the time, I think what she would say is that there is a negative light.
Yes. Well, victimization is pretty common for Ukrainians. It's like the usual outlook that an ordinary Ukrainian would have. So that is why probably victimization is present everywhere. Yeah. But thank you for the different approach. It will be very interesting to watch. So what do you do for this movie?
For this movie, I am a co-creator. We applied together for, well, I applied for the Izolatsiya US-based residency. And they have given me, I'm very grateful for Izolatsiya for allowing me to come here to work on this project. They're giving me the time of 1 month, and the space to collaborate and talk about this project and begin filming. I'll be doing animation for this and cinematography for the project and editing down the line.
But you were originally from the United States, right?
Correct.
So what did touch you so you decided to cover this topic, to join the project and to cover the Donbas issue, and to deal with with those people who, who are going through a lot of trauma right now, or who have been going? Well, I know that you want to show a little bit like a positive approach in this, but still they had gone through a lot of stress with leaving their home.
Yeah, I find the story, their story is very, very touching, and it resonates with me a little bit. My family, my father's side, is from Iran, from Tehran, and since the government changed in the late 70s, there's been displacement in my family as well, all across the world, from California to Australia, all over. I have family I've never met before.
I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's just a fact. And
so your family had to go through this also?
Very different, obviously, situation, but similar in a lot of internal and emotional ways. And the way they talk about their home in Iran, there's also similar memories of gardens and flowers and certain fruits that they remember in their memories. So this project with Darya, the way she talks about it is really fascinating to me. And
it's really fascinating because maybe there is some kind of psychological approach towards this, towards plants and stuff. Maybe that could be some kind of new psychological report on that people can remember what happened to them, because yes, when people go through a lot of stress, the memory tends to push out those memories, so it has to somehow well, keep the person alive and to survive, so that's why the memories are gone. But since the plants are helping to restore the memory, this is very serious, and that could be a really good motivation for further researching. Maybe since Darya is working on scientific research, maybe this is one of her interest also, but I think that maybe we'll have a chance to discuss it with her personally.
I would hope so, yeah. I would say that I wouldn't call it a scientific research. She's not a scientist. It's more like philosophy.
Yeah,
I'd say, yeah.
I understand. You said that this is an emotional script. It's going to be an emotional movie about life stories of IDPs. What story has been, I know that you're still working on the script right now, so it's still in the process, but what story has been the most touching for you as of now?
Right now we're working with a woman named Anya from Luhansk, and one of her stories about these strawberries that she had back in her home in Luhansk. She had these strawberries that she had asked to be taken care of after her departure, and she had to leave Luhansk right before the strawberries were in season, before they became ripe. And when she returned to Luhansk, to her home, I think she had to go back for a funeral, I think. All the strawberries were destroyed, and the way she talks about it in the interview, it's very touching. And this Saturday we're actually going to be interviewing her again and speaking with her more about these stories.
Where does she live now?
She lives in Kiev.
So she used to live in Luhansk and then she moved to Kiev. So what do you plan to do with this movie? When do you plan to release it, and maybe some future participation in the festivals?
Yeah, our plan right now with the film is to create a short teaser version of it, hopefully in the next couple of months. And our plan for later is to turn it into its feature version, obviously. But the timeline for that is unclear. But of course, we would like to submit it to festivals after we finish.
Well, of course, we're wishing you a best of luck in your work and in completing this movie, and also in future festival participations. So we hope that you're gonna follow your aspirations with it and succeed. And well, I would say I would root for the name Displaced Garden. I don't know your personal motivations about this, but still, thank you so much for being a guest today in our studio, and thank you for letting us to have a glimpse on this movie with this talk.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. That was Nicholas Nazmi, an animator, filmmaker, and painter. Thank you for watching Head to Head, and stay tuned for more with UATV.